What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride.
Good.
Either one works. It depends how the day's going, right?
Right.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And my friend, my guest today, all the way from Chi-Town, is Tera McAndrews. Hello, Tara.
Hello.
Now, don't be frightened that she's in the nurse's office. No one's getting in trouble. Oh, well, maybe she is. I've got a boo-boo. I've got a boo-boo. So I'm going to go ahead and read Tara's bio real quick, and we'll get cooking. So here we go. Today, we're joined by Tera Lynch, the author of Orange Post-it Note, The Orange Post-it Note, a memoir that proves resilience isn't just about surviving. It's about finding the courage to launch, rebuild, and write your own ending after heartbreak. When Tara discovered her husband's secret double life, including connections to Ashley Madison, her world shattered. But instead of letting betrayal define her, she turned it into a bold journey of healing, humor, and a hard-won wisdom. With a voice that both raw and witty, Tara invites readers and listeners alike into the messy, sometimes hilarious, and ultimately empowering process of starting over. Her story isn't just about infidelity, it's about reclaiming your life, finding your strength, and inspiring others to do the same. Tara's a school nurse, mother, daughter, loyal friend, and now author. With wit as sharp as her instincts and a heart tempered by loss and laughter, her memoir chronicles a journey not of collapse, but of reinvention. From gaslighting to gratitude, from the family home to a bohemian laced apartment, and from silent suffering to stand up worthy survival stories. Tara writes with the voice of a best friend, honest, hilarious, and deeply human. Please welcome Tera Lynch. Sorry, I called you McAndrews. Is it Lynch or McAndrews? I didn't
It's
know.
very confusing. I had a rookie mistake when I published my first book. On the back page, it says Tara McAndrews. I went by the author Tera Lynch, but it really doesn't matter. I think it was meant to be in the long run. So I'm Tara Lynch McAndrews. I'm just Tara. How about that?
You're kind of like Cher or Madonna.
I
There's no
can't say
last name.
that. You can. I can't say that.
It's just Tara. We
Yeah.
don't do last name. It's Beyonce, your Lady B. So, Miss T, Lady T, um, since for the What If You Could podcast, I do have one question before we get started, if that's okay. And I ask all my guests. So, Tara, have you ever had a what if you could moment, or is there a what if you could thought you'd like to share with us before we get cooking?
Well, it's kind of why I wrote the book. And what if I could, immediate post-discovery or quickly after of finding out my husband was having multiple affairs and infidelities, realized, please don't let this define yourself. Don't let this define yourself. What if I could have freed myself from all the triggers and the gaslighting that just swarmed around me constantly for way too long? What if I understood sooner that the shortcomings were his and not mine? What if I could realize that staying with a spouse who says he loves you, who has one foot in the door and one foot out, is really silly? I wish I could have realized that sooner. I wish I could have realized sooner that I I would get my sense of humor back and that my life wasn't over. And I wish I could have realized sooner that I could be resilient sooner. And I wish I could have found out sooner that I could help other betrayed partners rise again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it kind of throws me to what you talked about in the book is the knots.
Mhm.
Nots, the knots. You kind of just reeled off some of the knots that you mentioned in your book, right?
Yeah. You know, when you're in a marriage and you're happy, you see all the good stuff and you just kind of bury the little stuff that kind of bothers you a little bit here and there. Plus, when my husband and I were married, he traveled Monday through Friday to New York City for business. So we remained in that newlywed stage for a lot longer than a lot of other couples do because it was every weekend we were back together. So we were so happy to see each other. But I didn't realize that he was acting out and had many relationships going in New York. I had was blindsided. So when I did discover that uh, he wasn't being true and faithful to me, it gives you a lot of time to persevere on some of the things that were bugging you, little things that weren't right. And it turned out to be a whole chapter of nots, the things that he did not do that spoke volumes. Little gestures not made, little things not done, little things not said that were a bigger deal, and I should have paid attention to them more. Um, they were little red flags, but looking back, I should have paid attention more. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, just not merging funds, always not being on time, um, not being excited about our wedding anniversary. It was just almost painful. Like it was just not something he wanted to celebrate, but I just thought, oh, he's exhausted, he traveled all week, he doesn't want a big late night. Yeah, you rationalize all these silly knots, things that are not happening. And then they really add up and become a big deal. You just put up with a lot of stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I don't remember from the book, or maybe it wasn't in there. How long were you guys married?
We dated 10 years. It was both of our second
Oh,
marriage.
that's right. Yeah,
Okay. So we
that's right.
met when our kids were in middle school and we were on the same sports circuit. His kids were doing baseball games and basketball games when my kids were. So we met in the bleachers
Mhm.
kind of. And just realized we had a lot going on and a lot in common. We both like worked at Wendy's. We both grew up in this town called Palatine. We went to the same church. We just had no idea. So it was like, oh my God, this is faith. This was meant to be. But my kids, they really didn't want me to get married and they needed me. And I was going to nursing school. So we dated 10 years and we lived very close to each other. And so we knew each other for 10 years and we kind of said, you know what, when they all go off to college, we're going to get married. And that's perfect timing. And we'll buy a joint home. And that's what we did. And then we were married 9 years.
Wow. 20 years together is a long time. And 10 years to date is a long time. And you mentioned it. I don't want to give away too much of the book because it's not a massive book and it's such a great read. But you mentioned in the book the kids really got along. I mean, they kind of hit it off like peanut butter and jelly. You said they liked being with the other kids, right?
Yeah, they really did, especially the girls. They both didn't have a natural sister, so they just kind of bonded. And the boys liked each other a lot. Played sports together. Weren't best friends, but we were like the little Brady Bunch. We really
Mm.
were, and we both our kids had great relationships with their other parents. So everybody was kind of happy and settled all the way around. We had a regular routine and we liked a lot of the same things. So it was
Yeah,
disappointing. It was a loss.
yeah. Again, I don't want to give away too much of the book, but there was so much, good stuff in there. Um, One of the things, if I may, without giving away too much, was the Shrine of Shame that you put together. And it was funny and tragic at the same time, you building the Shrine of Shame for him. But his response, and I'm not going to read it, I've got it. I could read it if you like, or you probably know it by heart, but because I don't want to give it away. But his response was like, what a douchebag. That was a really
Yeah.
douchebag response. I'm sorry. I mean, you come home to that. That's just like, dude, seriously. When you're in a hole, stop digging, bro. I mean, that, that was a bad
Yeah,
response.
yeah, he set the bar really low. Um, yeah, so I found out my husband was cheating. I found out on an orange post-it note. He was acting weird when he moved back from New York City, and I mean, his phone was an appendage to his hand. And he would fall asleep with it in his hand. It was that attached to him. And so I did some digging and found out, oh my God, he is definitely cheating on me. He's on hookup apps. He's on Ashley Madison. And I found all the information on a orange post-it note. So that's how the whole thing comes about. And he just wasn't taking me very seriously. He was just telling me a little bit here and there. I had to find hard, concrete proof for him to own up to anything. But then all the while, like kind of getting into recovery, telling me how much he loved me, crying all the time. It was such a confusing time. But then just when I really watched him, I could see, this is kind of an act. Like I don't know. I don't know what's real anymore. It was a very psycho time. And he just wasn't hearing me. And so he was out of town, and I just saw something and annoyed me one day, and I just threw it on his desk. Then I walked by something else and I threw it on his desk. And um, all of a sudden, I'm like, holy cow, I'm throwing everything that triggers me, reminds me about his affairs, reminds me about New York, reminds me of the travel, everything. And it went from a flat desk to whoosh. And I mean, I even brought Christmas decorations out. I had this tall angel, and I hung his jock strap on it. The note, loose morals, um, heavenly dream of a marriage, wrote cheater of the year over accountant of the year, like an embroidered thing his mom had framed. Everything from United Airlines was thrown on his desk. We used to love sweet tea vodka. That was kind of our summer drink. And that was one of his alias names was sweet tea. So I put the bottle of sweet tea
Wait,
vodka,
wait, 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 wait. That was in the book, but I want you to say it again. So one of his like tag names or secret names was Sweet Tea.
sweet tea, Tea. Uh,
Uh,
it was kind of weird and uh, just
uh,
hurtful because I'm like, why did you pick our favorite liquor that we discovered in Charleston on a trip why? He's like, I don't know. The girl I was with told me my old name was boring. I needed to sweeten it up. So he's drinking sweet tea vodka. He looked at the sweet tea vodka and that became his name. So I don't know. I just threw everything on that desk and I had made a Spotify playlist for myself that I used to listen to, and on accident, I left it playing. I did not plan that, but it's pretty poetic. And so when he came home, I had left and he called me. And so he walked in and saw the desk and was hearing the music at the same time and was just said something really crappy, right?
yeah.
Just very
You want me to say it or
not
save it for
empathetic,
people to read it? What's that?
not empathetic, right?
It
I
it
don't think
it,
my shrine on the desk
it was
complete.
majorly douchebag. Of all the things you could have said, that was pretty douchebaggery. But we'll leave people to read the book and get
I
that
think
because
so.
you,
That's a little cliffhanger or a little
yeah, you read that and go.
realizing.
But there's a lot of stuff in there. I think the thing that I kept coming back to is as I'm going through it. And again, it's such a great read. It's heartfelt, but it's funny. You have a very natural wit about you, and you're handling it in a funny way. But I kept coming back to, are they still in the same house? And then I know he eventually moved out, got some rent, but then moved back in. And then you guys did the bathroom and stuff. So I mean, you guys, were you trying to work it out? I mean, you had filed divorce. Were there second thoughts about the divorce, or were you just, I don't know, you're keeping him around?
Well, I immediately kicked him out. And then He just professed how sorry he was. He had laid out a whole game plan, like therapists and programs and a retreat. And so I was like, I do love him. Maybe he just made a terrible mistake. Maybe we can make this work. It was my second marriage. I truly enjoyed his company. I knew he had a very troubled childhood that he did not deal with. So I was cutting him a lot of slack in that respect. So I did try to make it work. And then for about a year, and then realized, oh no, I think I'm being played. I think I'm really being played. So then kicked him out again. He left because he had slipped in some areas. And he was gone for about 3 or 4 months. And then it was he didn't want a divorce. I wanted the divorce. So we were just talking about it. So I let him back in the house and I left for 3 months and I visited girlfriends. I visited all my adult children. I just thought, why should he keep paying this expensive rent? I'll take that rent money. I'll travel because I'm off for the summer and I'm going to go see my friends and family. So we both won because he didn't want to live in a furnished apartment and he wanted to be back in the house and then I could afford to do all this. So that's one of the things in my book. It's like, you can make your own rules. You can figure this out for yourself. You can do what works for you as a couple because I'll tell you, once you let people in, family and friends because I kept it a secret for a long time. You don't get to do that anymore. You've got people on your back. You divorce them today, you divorce them tomorrow, or I don't even want to see you. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to go to your house. He's a horrible person. I don't want my kids around him. So you don't get to call the shots anymore. Your family really gets involved. So this was just a nice time to make my own rules, my own boundaries because I have 3 sisters that love me and 3 kids that love me who uh, just didn't think my boundaries were enough. They didn't think I was safe. And so once you open that door, you don't get to do the things the way you want to. I mean, my family was rolling my eyes when we were living under the same roof in separate bedrooms, separate bathrooms for a while because I was waiting for the apartment of my dreams to be built. So I'm like, it's not going to be ready for 8 months, so I can do this. I can do this. I can grin and bear it. And in the meantime, we worked out a very fair settlement without too much attorneys. And I just knew that it was going to be a process for him because he did not want to let me go. And it just kind of worked out for us in the long run. So you can do things your way. There's not one way to divorce. There's not one way to process this pain. I make light of a lot of this, but I was in a very dark place for a very long time. And I just wish other people Godspeed in getting through it a little quicker.
Yeah. Tony Robbins said a long, long time ago, it might have been actually on his very first, The Giant Within or whatever his very first one was. He said, uh, on his little cards that came with a quote that said, "Now I am the voice. I'm the voice. You're no longer the voice. You're no longer in my head. You're no longer controlling what's going on, my thoughts." And that stuck with me. I don't know, was that from 40 years ago or whatever? But I think about that a lot when things are really dark or something's really beating on me. I think, no, 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 no. You're not the voice. You're not the boss of me.
Right.
I'm the voice. And that's kind of what I was reading when I was reading your book. And I was hearing that as I was going through the book because you really did morph into, yeah, this is bullshit. I'm not playing anymore. I was a victim. That was cool. I did it, but I'm not gonna do that anymore. And you really went on offense from defense.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the wake up call was, I think, when I went to Nantucket and had my girlfriend get away. And I just laughed again, and I saw humor, and I bought that Gaslighter album without even owning a record player. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to be okay. I am going to be okay. I'm going to have no regrets leaving this marriage. I threw the kitchen sink at trying to make
Yeah.
this work. I really, really, really did. And I didn't cause this. I can't control it. I can't cure it. And I tried, but I'm not going to die trying. And
Yeah. Yeah.
after I wrote the book, I threw it into Chat GPT because I had this plaguing question. I said, all right, read the book. Is it a problem that I never give him a name? Do you hate that? And Chat GPT is like, no, it's the most powerful thing you could have done. Don't give him, don't give
My
him.
son lives on ChatGPT. He asked it what he should do for lunch that day or what color socks he should have. He
It's,
loves that dang thing.
it's going to go away someday, and these people are going to be, because it's draining, from what I'm reading, it's draining our Earth's resources. I mean, the amount of water it takes to cool down all these systems. So people better learn how to read and write and come up with
And
their
do all
original
that stuff.
thoughts, because it will go away someday, I swear to God.
Yeah, well, I even know how the dang thing works. But you did cut him some slack. You did cut him some slack. I thought you were very kind in the book. There's a lot of times you could have thrown him under the bus harder. I know
Mhm.
there's a lot of anger involved with this. I'm a real estate broker by trade for 35 years, so we're one of the first people you call after the divorce attorney, right? Is we got to sell the house.
Yeah.
I see people when I meet with them, and when I meet with them initially, and it's new in the divorce, and they sit down, they say, "Oh, everything's fine. We're gonna get along great. Everything's gonna be wonderful." I know that's gonna be the worst sale of my life. But when I show up and they're like, "F you, I told you we're gonna do it like this," and they're at the anger stage, I know, all right, cool. We're almost through this, right? I'm not at the beginning of this because there really is that whole process of it. And you cut him a lot of slack because of his whatever he went through, but you went through some stuff too. Your first dad, the losing the child. I mean, going through this guy, obviously a first marriage. I mean, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies for you either, kiddo.
No, no, and I don't know why I'm so resilient. I just think it's an innate thing in me. I don't know. I think w- I grieve and I mourn hard, really hard. And then I think because I do that, I can breathe again and have no regrets. I don't know. I've had some really horrendous stuff happen to me. And, I'm just lucky in that respect. And I just had a great childhood and great parents and great support system. Um, that really helps. But I just have so much pity for him because he doesn't really have family. His kids, he's not as close to his kids as I'm close to my kids. He doesn't have a really good inner circle of friends, which is kind of his fault. His closest friend doesn't want anything to do with them because of what he did to me, what what my husband did to me. He is disgusted by it. So he doesn't have anybody. And uh, that I feel a lot of responsibility for that. Um, I want him to get into a healthy place, but he's just got to realize he's got a severe problem, and I don't know. I don't wish him any ill will. I don't. Um,
19 years together, you guys probably built a lot of friendships, or you built the friendships and he kind of tagged along, which is how it is mostly with husbands, right? The
yeah,
wife builds the friendships and the husband's kind of tag along. That's how it was with my first marriage. But so when you do separate, it's weird for the friends because they got to pick sides, right? It's like, well, do I want to go with Tara or do I want to go with douchebag? Or do I don't want to be with any of them for a while because I'm not comfortable with the whole situation. So you lose so much in this situation. You kind of lose the friends, the house, there's money, there's your mind. You can go crazy with it. I mean, there's so much really that you have to kind of hold on to.
You're so right. I mean, this was a big deal because this was our second marriage. We were both belonged to a country club where we golfed and played pickle, and our social life really evolved around a lot of the couples and families we met there. And so I just had to say goodbye to it. I was just smart about it. As soon as I kind of figured out what was going on, I'm like, all right, just get used to it. You're not a golfer anymore, not there. And the friends didn't call. Nobody was looking for me. So I'm like, well, they're not real friends. And I was just had to put on my big girl pants and just say, you're not, thank God you're not materialistic. And thank God you don't need all of that. And I really leaned on family and friends and went back to rekindle old friendships with people. And quite frankly, I needed some time alone. I just needed to grow and find strength um, and work keeps me really busy and the book kept me really busy. So yeah, whole new friends. Got to start over. Again, again.
You
And
know, watching you play with your necklace reminds me of a line from the book. It's kind of like what we're talking about right now when you wrote uh, unwinding a tangled necklace carefully and slowly so you don't break the chain. I loved that. I was like, ooh, I'm highlighting that. Unwinding a tangled necklace carefully and slowly so you don't break the chain. I thought, God, that's you really, as you visualize that, and anyone who's done that knows that feeling of it.
don't want
Um,
to break the chain. Yeah.
don't want to break it, but sometimes you have to, right? I mean, you kind of had to break that chain. At some point, you can't be careful, you can't go slow, you can't worry about the chain. You just got to break that sucker and go, huh?
I just needed to do it when I was ready for me because I loved him so deeply. And I was being rushed by well-meaning family and friends and kids. And you have to own it so you don't regret it. Know that you did everything you could. I needed to know I did it kindly. Um, and then just walk away, skip away. I was totally able to skip away and be 100% fine with it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, or Dr. Rob said, home is more important than love, and you had to find your home, your little bohemian apartment, and kind of make that your space, make that your safe spot. Um, we all need that, right? We just need a safe place to land. You know, we need a safe place to be when all the madness is spinning around and you just don't know what to do sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm probably paying way too much in my rent. Rent is out of control, but um, I that my view of the city is astounding. And so if I have no plans and I'm lonely, I've got my city view and it's my roommate. And I just thought I'm gonna be luxurious because if for a year or two, because if I was in a doldrum, dark apartment with no view, I don't think I'd be as healthy as I am right now. So I just needed light and bright and space and a two-bedroom because I have cousins that want to stay overnight and my kids come and I love that. I just want to have space for them.
What was it, Dr. Rob, or who came up with the duped
Oh, that was
analogy?
not doctor. It was Jen Cole. She was one of my coaches who was in Canada, and I was on one of her online support groups for 12 weeks, and I got along with these women. They were all from Canada. I was the only non-Canadian, and we got along so well that we all went on vacation together and rented an Airbnb. I talk about that in the book. And I remember just saying around the fire pit, I just don't want to be duped again. And they're like, nope, you're not allowed to say that word again. So we transformed it into D, devote, E, what was it? E,
Let's see. D,
exit.
devote. U,
Oh, you
unconditional.
devote, U, unconditional, D, devote, um,
P, priority to self.
priority to,
E for exit, and D for despair. Duped. Devote, unconditional, priority, exit, and despair. I thought, ooh, that's pretty good. That's almost like the 5 steps of grief. I mean, that duped is pretty good.
yeah. I think they got tired of me saying it. They're like, okay, we're changing this mantra. Yeah, little
Have
scripts.
you always been funny? I mean, have you always kind of had a funny bone? Were you silly? Were you funny before this, or did this bring out your funny bone in a weird way?
I think I've always been silly funny, unless I'm shy. When you're an introvert and extrovert, if I'm an extrovert about like feel good about a topic or a group of people, then I let the real me, silly me in. But if I don't. I'm more quiet and observant and listen.
Well, how are you going to do stand up?
I'm gonna have to be an extrovert that day.
Because the book really is funny. I mean, obviously it's a not very funny topic and everything that you went through and still go through and try to live stuff every day. You know, the emotional side of it, Um, it's funny about crying really hard. Usually after you have a really hard cry, you have a really good laugh for some reason. I don't know why that works that way. Um, but reading kind of how your mind works, I'm sure that you made yourself laugh more than once.
Yeah. Well, I cried deeply. I don't think there were tears for a long time. I don't think my body's capable of producing any more tears. It did take a long time to laugh. But then once it started happening, I ran with it. I was like, this is a gift. I did not think this would ever happen again. And I am not going to not appreciate this because I used to look at photos of myself or him when you got that great laugh and you're so happy. And I'm like, I'm never going to feel that way again. But once it started to come back a little bit, it's just a lot of self-care. You have to take care of yourself and you have to find those old friends and get as much support as you can. And you're going to exhaust your support circles. So I encourage people to get many support circles because you can't keep tapping the same people. You just can't keep doing it.
When did you say, I'm going to write all this stuff into a book? When did you decide to go, you know what, there's a book here. I want to tell my story. Or was it, I want to try to save other people from this happening? How'd the book come about?
So I have ADHD. It is a proven fact. So I was writing all over the place. I had Google documents with no intention of writing a book. It was just like, oh my God, this is so funny that Hulu just dropped a show on Ashley Madison right when I'm finding out my husband's a sex addict. It reminds me of when I had to give up gluten. But actually, when I gave up gluten, it was such a great time because all of a sudden the store shelves were stocked with gluten-free everything. And then, God, when I lost my son Colin, like baby angels were like the rage, and you could openly mourn about losing a child. And um, I was just like, wow, I'm seeing like the good in being duped. And my marriage crashing because it's actually, once again, a good time. It's actually trendy. Like, how do all these bad things that happen to you happen at these amazing times when there's so much support? So that was kind of my first chapter, tying all that together. And I'm like, well, this is kind of silly and funny. It's kind of a funny way to tell the story, if there is a story to tell. And then I follow this woman called Karen Salmonson, who is, she's written many, many books, but she's really into self-help and being positive. And she said, hey, if you guys, anybody who follows me, if 3 people pitch to me a story idea that they've been working on or a book they've been working on, I want to help 3 people this year. But you have to pitch it to me. I have to like the concept. It just has to be something I'm into. So I signed up and I pitched it to her and I sent her my writing and she's like, oh yeah, we're going to work together this year. So she helped me. I mean, she got my pieces of paper. She got my documents. She got my things that I recorded on a recorder. And we just laughed our heads off. She cut out half my material. I had a lot more. And we became really good friends. And she just helped me organize my chaotic thoughts and trim it all down. And so she really helped me organize my writing. So it all kind of was this little perfect storm, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I there's so many bad things about social media. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously there could be some good things about social media, seeing the babies and keeping in touch with friends and stuff like that. But social media is kind of just turned into a complete nightmare in a lot of ways. And infidelity is one of them. I mean, it's just so easy to reach out and touch someone with all the access, easy access to just everything. And although you guys were peas and carrots and had a wonderful relationship, if someone's sick, they're sick, right? I mean, if an alcoholic's he's gonna find a drink, I mean, people are going to follow their instincts regardless of who they hurt because they're selfish. Most addicts are very selfish people. So, what are you doing besides the book? I mean, are you engaging with other stuff as far as working with other people on this?
I was in so many types of support groups, and the podcasts I listened to were all about sexual addiction and betrayal trauma. I've done so many workbooks, I've gone on retreats, and at this point, and now with writing this book, I'm trying to get on podcasts that deal with this subject and really get into the nitty gritty about sexual addiction and betrayed partners and all that happens with that. But then I really want to step away because like I didn't want this to define me. There's other material I want to read. There's other material I want to write about. There's other podcasts I want to listen to. So I have no intention of becoming a coach, like a sexual addiction coach. This is a phase of my life that I want to go away. I always want to be there to help people who are going through this, but this is the dark. I want to go from the dark ages to the light ages, the golden ages. Because a lot of people like this becomes their world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's not for me.
Yeah. Losing a child the way you did, a lot of people don't recover from that. I've got friends, 25, 28 years later, and they're still, that defines them. It's a tough thing. You've chosen to not be defined by your husband's addiction, his cheating, infidelity, whatever you want to call it, because you really do need to move on. I mean, at some point, you can't keep wallowing in that stuff because it doesn't make things any better. It really doesn't.
No, and I just don't want to become bitter and angry. And I've met a lot of partners like that, and I've had compassion and I'm trying to help them. But then you become somebody that nobody really wants to be around, and you're a burden for your kids. And, nobody wants to hear it anymore. I mean, for a while, and I'll be with you, I'll hold your hand, I'll support you. But if that's going to be your mantra for the rest of your life, that's a lot to ask your family and your friends, you know? Um, yeah, you just got to do what works for you. For me, it was writing, self-help. I love my job. I'm really, really lucky. I go to work every day and I love being a school nurse. These little people crack me up. They bring me so much joy and I go home exhausted, so I don't have too much energy to do too much else. And I love my kids. I don't know. It's life is rich in that respect. But I just life is too short to let, I mean, to not move on. I mean, I have faith. I think faith helps and other interests and listening to other people and all that good stuff. Meditation, yoga. I dabble in it all. I just little pockets of everything just to make you feel well balanced and happy. I know, but I think some people are kind of born with an innate ability to rise out of this. Um, and some maybe aren't and need more work and more help. But I'm pretty lucky. But I didn't think I didn't think I was going to survive this one. I don't want any more. No more bad juju.
Well, first thought I had is kids say the darndest things, right? That old
Yeah.
show, Kids Say the Darndest Thing. I'm sure you get tons of giggles from the kids. And I know some of the hardest part, I know I've dealt with it for the loss of my first wife is, you beat yourself up over stuff. You beat yourself up. It's like, well, what did I do? What did I see? What could I have done more? Uh, Regardless of the fact that that's just none of that's a possibility. My first wife passed from cancer, and I beat myself up for years over it. I'm like, dude, you didn't give her cancer. You couldn't have done any more than was done. But, and in your case, obviously there's the inevitable, what did I do? What could I have done? And you just can't beat yourself up over this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. It's hard, my looks, my worldliness, like I I was just like, what don't I have that these other women that he's into have? He's very into Asian women. So I look at my hands and I'd be like, oh, I have big, ugly hands. Asian women generally have beautiful, soft, teeny tiny hands. Like I compared myself to everybody he was with at nauseum. And I just realized I can't live like this anymore. I mean, I, seriously, and I'm not going to ever date on apps, but I would literally be the one who says, yeah, I've had skin cancer surgery, so I have like scars here, here, and here. I have huge hands. They look 10 years older than anybody else's. When my gray comes in, it looks like I'm balding. It looks like I have bald spots, but they're really not bald spots. My teeth I've tried to whiten them. This is as white as they get. I mean, I'm just going to tell all the gnarly, ugly stuff because I need to be real.
You mean you're not going to put an Asian filter over your face to try to
No,
try?
I might
Can you do
say
that? You probably
it.
could do that. I don't know. You could probably do that. So,
Probably
so
do.
what is next
No,
for
I don't.
Tara? What is next for you? What are you going to do next now?
I would like to write a book about how my sister and I played. We had the greatest imaginations and free reign. And when I think back on the four houses that we grew up in and our neighborhood friends and all the fun, crazy stuff we did without phones or um, anything. We had walkie-talkies when we were lucky, It was the imagination and the fun we had. In fact, I was at church and I ran into an old friend from childhood and we were sitting next to each other and I just started ranting off like, do you remember when we did this? Do you remember when we caught the frogs and we built the fort? And then those boys tore down our fort and then I made you take off your shirt when we played doctor and I drew a picture of your broken elbow and you got really mad at me because I made you take their shirt off. And he's like, no, I don't remember any of that, but it's coming back to me. And I'm like, yeah, and I used to listen to KTEL records in your sister's room. So I'm like, oh my God, this is a book. This is a book, the creative things we did, my sister and I. So I'm gonna take a stab at that one.
Well, that'll bring everybody back to that era because we all did that. We were jumping off the roof into the pool. We were building forts. We were lighting stuff on fire. Yeah, we all did that stuff. So it'd bring
Yeah,
back great
we
memories for
turned out
everybody.
fine. Yeah.
And a lighter, even though your book is the topic, of course, is heinous, and your ex-husband's a douchebag, but the book itself is very light. It was a super great read.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, you're actually a good writer. You're witty, you're fun. You don't dwell on things. You move on, and I think it just makes for a nice, easy read. You know, like you said, it's like hanging out with your best bud telling you a story. Um, so I liked it. So I know your second book will be good, and I know your stand-up is going to be good when you decide to go to Second City. You are in Chicago, you know. Do they still have Second City in Chicago?
Absolutely.
There you go, right?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I went to Chris Farley was a good friend of mine. So Chris Farley and I were at Marquette together. So we used to go to Second City to see him all the time before he hit it big.
Talk about a loss. Oh man.
I,
We
I
still
referenced him in the book just because he was my bud.
yeah, we quote Tommy Boy almost on a daily basis.
I
We
quote Man
just
by the River.
yeah, we just I love Chris. It's another tragedy right there. But so Tara, so you've been great with your time. Time just flies. So before we get out of here, though, I lied earlier because I'm a dude. We lie. Men are pigs. But so I said I had one question, but I actually have a second question. And my second question is, yeah, it could be anything. Doesn't have to be about what happened or the book or, could be any thought that you have. But is there something that means a lot to Tara that she would like to share with us before we get out of here? Yeah, something you'd like to share that means something to you.
Like advice or
It could be a fortune cookie that you saw. It could be a favorite quote. Just something that means something to you that you kind of want to share with us before we skedaddle. If you don't have one, that's okay. Not everybody does.
mm, I don't know. I'm just thinking take care of your inner child. When you're sad, just go back in and think of things that made you happy, memories that made you happy, people that made you happy, and just get back to the essentials of you to help you heal when you're hurting.
That's a good one because our inner child's boy, a lot of us have some really bad boo-boos on our inner child, and we don't have a school nurse to come put a band-aid on it. I, I mean, I think the one thing that another thing you put in there about in your book, um, just finding some safe space, finding some freedom and finding, love. And I think we all want love. We all want to be loved. Our inner child desperately wants to be loved. And sometimes life comes up and smacks us right in the side of the head, right? And brings us to where we are. But every time that happens, there's another part of life that's better. And we needed to kind of get out of this one to find that one. And that's what you're doing. And I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I think balance is everything. Balance is perspective is everything. Just, I am going to get through this. Today is terrible, but think about everything in the past. This too shall pass. Just get some sleep, take care of yourself, have a nice meal, take some deep breaths, and just, it will be better. It will be better tomorrow. Baby step.
Yeah. Every day you wake up is a good day. Gives you another shot to do it again and make things better. So, Tera Lynch or Tara McAndrews? Who am I?
Well, the book
signing?
is by Tera Lynch. The Orange Post-it Note, a memoir. Do you know two people stole my book on Amazon? The same title. They put their name on it. They called it the Orange Post-it Note. And they took.
Can you do that?
Yes, it's a thing. It's called phantom stealing books. It is. Amazon
Well, hold up
the
the
first time.
book again. Put it on. Put
Yeah.
the book back up on the
It has to
camera.
look like that. There's two fake covers out there. And
The
it's by
Orange Post-it Note.
a memoir about a husband's betrayal and my resilience by Tera Lynch. So there's two other books on Amazon and they stole my title, made a similar thing, cover, but it's their name and it's similar content, but it's different. It's not as good.
That's
Can I say
unbelievable.
that? Yeah.
Oh,
Last
well,
page.
we only want the one that looks like that. That's
Yes.
that's
I did
one
this
that
on
we want.
Canva. I'm very proud of my Canva cover.
So where do we find it now? Do we still find it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and now it's on Instam Sparks, but that's if bookstores want to pick it up. But yeah,
Okay, cool. And where else can we find you? Where else can we hook up and find some more information? Not hook up. Sorry, bad term. Bad term. Where else can we find some more stuff
I do that too.
about Tera?
TeraLynch.com is my website. If you want to learn about healing. And I think I'm going to be on the betrayaltraumaradio.org podcast November 4th. And I'm going to be on Betrayal and Addiction Recovery with Dr. Rob and Tammy on October 29th.
Well, I'm going to look into Dr. Rob because you quote him in the book, and he sounds like the dude's pretty right on. So I'll have to watch that podcast with you and Dr. Rob.
Thank you. It's going to be more of like a webinar. I'm going to have to do a lot more talking without. I got to work on I'm better at writing than I am at marketing and speaking about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're healing. You look great. You sound great. You're moving on. You're in your happy space right now. You got Band-Aids there. You're ready to go. You're locked and loaded. So tomorrow when those little critters come in, you'll be ready for them.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And it sounds like you're ready for your next step too, which is even more awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We just had a good time with Tera Lynch. She is the author of The Orange Post-it Note, a memoir about the infidelity of her ex-douchebag husband. Please find the original book, not the fake book. Make sure it has Tera Lynch on there. And Tera, thank you so much for your time, kiddo. This was wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you, Gary.
You too, kiddo. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.